What's up everybody? As always, I hope you're having a fantastic day. Apple recently released 3 new watches as well as new software for those watches. And so today I wanted to make a video on which one you should buy, of course depending on what your needs are as well as your budget. So they released their new largest and most expensive Apple Watch ever made, of course if you don't count the Hermes model, which was the Apple Watch Ultra. It's a new, bigger, rugged watch. They also brought a slightly better Series 8, quite similar to the Series 7 but just a bit better. And they also brought a new, cheaper Apple Watch SE. And I believe they had to make it a bit cheaper because they removed the Apple Watch Series 3, so you can't buy it anymore. Now the SE is the budget version, and I would say it's a really good bang for the buck. We're gonna talk a bit later about exactly who it is for, but let's start with the biggest differences between those. So let's get started with the Apple Watch SE. So like I said, it starts at $249, making it the cheapest model you can currently buy. They're all in aluminum. You have 2 different sizes, so 40 and 44 millimeters. You have only 3 different colors, which are Midnight, which is a dark gray. You have Starlight, which is kind of a silver-ish with a bit of a maybe pinkish or orangish hue. And then you have Silver, which of course is just a gray model. And you can choose from a large range of bands. If you do pick up the larger model, it is a bit more expensive. And they also have a cellular version, which adds $50 to the price of the watch. However, like we'll talk about later, you'll see it's a really good idea, especially for kids. If you don't want to buy them an iPhone, you can just get them an Apple Watch SE with cellular on it. That way you'll be able to communicate with them if they're out and about. And there are also a lot of safety features that are included with this watch if you don't have your iPhone with you. If you do have an iPhone with you, you don't really need the cellular version. However, if you don't have an iPhone, it's a really useful feature to add. And now the Series 8, which as you'll see is actually almost exactly the same as the Series 7, comes in also in aluminum. You have the same colors as the SE plus a product red. You have 2 different sizes, which are 41 and 45 millimeters, so only a millimeter larger than the SE. You also have a steel version, which will cost $700, well starting at $700, and for the non-steel, so the aluminum version, it's about $400, well $399 to be exact. And then we have the Apple Watch Ultra, which is $800. You can't really choose the specs on that watch. You only have 3 bands to choose from. We'll talk about that a bit later. So they're all in titanium. They're actually the only Apple Watch currently in titanium. It's at 49 millimeters, which is actually really big for a watch in general. So it might not fit really well on your wrist. You'd have to try it out in the store, I believe. If you have smarter wrist, if you know that you can handle bigger watches, you'll be fine. There's only one color for the Ultra. It's their natural color, so it's kind of a grayish color, slightly brown maybe. And it has the largest display of all the watches. It's also the only Apple Watch with a sapphire crystal, which if you don't know is actually quite common in luxury watches because it's scratch resistant almost completely. However, if you were to drop it on the floor, it would shatter, so that's why the face of the watch is flat. And you'll see the titanium bezel go just a bit over the sapphire to protect it. You also have an action button, which can be fully customizable to start an action. Some of the examples that they included in their event was to start a dive or a new workout. I'm sure there'll be apps that will allow you to customize this button even more. So maybe if you want to add a to-do or something on your watch, maybe that button could work for that. It has a larger crown and it's also a larger watch. Like I said, 49 millimeter is really big, but it's also thicker. It's actually 35% thicker than the Series 8. However, all of that comes with a nice bigger battery. The battery is actually 76% larger than the Series 8. And that makes it the longest lasting battery life of any Apple Watch. So it can last up to 36 hours in regular mode, which is exactly twice as much as the SE and the Series 8. And if you put it in a low battery mode, so kind of a battery saving mode, you can last up to 60 hours with your Apple Watch on a single charge, which is impressive for an Apple Watch. However, there are definitely other smartwatches out there that have better battery. But for an Apple Watch, it's the best battery we've ever seen. All of that comes with a cost for the weight, however. It is the heaviest watch that they've ever made. It comes in at 61.3 grams, which is almost twice the weight of the 44mm SE, which is only 33, sorry. Before Apple released the Apple Watch Ultra, a lot of rumors said that you wouldn't be able to change the bands on the watch. However, you actually can. It'll fit with any band that are for 42 up to 45 millimeter watches. So you'll definitely have options to customize it a bit if the 3 bands that they offer don't really match with what you like. So all 3 watches have the exact same chip, which is the S8 chip, which is a remarketed version of the S7, which was a remarketed version of the S6. Now what that tells us is that those chips are really strong and they still do the job really well. However, I have to mention that the Apple Watch SE does not have the U1 chip, which allows you to track its location better and further as well. Some other features that the Apple Watch SE do not get include the blood oxygen sensor. You do not get the electrical heart sensor, as well as the 3rd generation optical heart sensor. However, I have to say that it's still a good sensor, even though you don't get the 3rd generation. You also don't get fast charging. You don't have access to the new temperature sensing, which is really useful for women especially, to help track their ovulation periods, or predict them rather. It's also not IPX6 dust resistant, and the most well, I guess noticeable difference is that it doesn't have always on display. That might be important for you, it might not. According to my friends that do have always on display on their watches, they have all said that it's not really a big deal. However, once you get rid of the always on display and you go back to like an SE which doesn't have the always on display, it is really frustrating. I personally have an SE and I don't really mind not having the always on display, but do keep in mind that apparently once you get spoiled with it, it's hard to go back to not having it. The SE, however, has all of the most important or core features of the Apple Watch. So you have car crash detection. So if you get into an accident, it'll call the emergency services that are the closest to you, and they do that with a new gyroscope as well as a new G-force accelerometer. I'm sorry, I can't say that word, but basically I'll try to see if you, I guess, decelerate it really quickly, which would detect a crash. It also comes in with 32 gigs of storage. I don't have a lot of things stored on my watch. However, you could download music, for example. So if you're going on a run, you'll still be able to connect with your AirPods or pretty much any Bluetooth earphones actually. You still get sleep tracking, a new compass, you still have your heart rate monitor, and for $249 it's definitely a really good deal. And like I talked about in the beginning, if you just add $50 to that price, you can get the cellular version, which is really useful for your kids because as you can see there are safety features. And for example, just if they're lost and they need to call you, you'll be able to do that with the watch without having them buy an iPhone, or rather without buying them a phone. You'll be able to just get them that watch and you'll be able to see where they are, and if they ever need your help, they'll be able to call you. Now when it comes to the Series 8, you have all the same features from the SE, but you also get blood oxygen sensor. You also have the temperature sensor, which like I said was important mainly for women. And you also have the always on display as well as IPX6 dust resistant. And now for the Apple Watch Ultra, it is the only watch with 2000 nits, which makes it a really bright screen. The use case for that is mainly when you're outside with direct sunlight, you'll still be able to look at your watch and see clearly what is going on. It's also tested for weatherproofing as well as durability according to the 810H military standards, which means it's a really durable watch. They also focused a lot on diving for that watch, so it is EN 13319 certified, which is the best rating for diving, which makes it a very good diving computer. And with that new certification, they also added Oceanic Plus, which is a good app to track dives. So you'll be able to track how deep you are with the new depth gauge. You're also able to track the temperature of the water. They also added a new better GPS as well as new speakers. The new speakers, you now have dual speakers actually on the Apple Watch Ultra, and they're 40% louder than the older ones. With that, you also have a better mic. But one feature that they added with those new speakers is a siren. So in case you were to get lost, or maybe you fell somewhere and you can't really get out, you'll be able to start the siren, and it plays a loud noise so that people will be able to find you. All of the Apple Watch Ultras come in with cellular built-in, so you don't have the choice to remove that. But I'm guessing that people are going to buy this watch are going to use the cellular feature quite a lot, because I don't think you'd bring your phone on a dive with you. So now when it comes for the advice, which Apple Watch I think you should get, and should you even get one? I think if you're not going to be using any of the features we talked about, the Apple Watch isn't really useful. It's essentially an extension of your phone, but with a lot of tracking, which is why I use it personally. I use it a lot for tracking workouts, tracking my sleep, checking the time, of course, but any watch could do that. Another feature I really like is you can add as many apps as you want, including to-do lists and stuff like that. So I'll quite often ask Siri on my watch to add a to-do to my to-do list so I don't forget anything. And now for the advice, I think if you're, of course, looking for a budget version, the SE really makes sense. It's the one that I personally have. I have the older model, not the newer ones, but I didn't need the features that the other ones had, such as oxygen sensor, because I'm pretty young, so it's not really something that should affect me. And of course, I don't need the temperature sensing, because that's mainly for women. If that's something that you need, of course, the Series 8 makes more sense. Another case where I think the SE really makes a lot of sense is, like I talked about, for kids. If you're going to be giving one to your kid, I think it makes a lot of sense. Or maybe as a gift if you don't want to spend too much money. Now for the Series 8, I don't see a lot of people needing a Series 8. I think the Series 7 is exactly the same. The only difference is that it doesn't have car crash detection, and it also doesn't have the temperature sensing, so that's important for you. Series 8 makes sense. However, if not, I think getting the Series 7 would make a lot more sense. It's pretty much always on sale on Amazon. I've seen some for $400, so I think the Series 7 makes a lot more sense than the Series 8. And then the Apple Watch Ultra, I think, of course, if you need the Apple Watch Ultra, you definitely know. It's definitely for a really, really specific group of people. So athletes or more adventurous people who are gonna go on dives. Maybe you go a lot on, like, I don't know, camping, you do a lot of trails and stuff like that. The other reason why I think it might be interesting is just because it's so different than any other Apple Watch. It is a new look, a new exciting look. I think we're kind of starting to get used to the old look of the Apple Watches. They all pretty much look the same now. Even if they're a bit smaller, if they have a bit of a bigger bezel, it's not that big of a deal. Whereas the new Ultra has a completely redesigned look. Something to keep in mind is, like I said in the beginning, it is a huge watch at 49mm, so it might not be the best fit on your wrists. And another really good reason to get the Ultra is just the battery life, because it's a lot bigger than the other models. The way I personally keep my battery full is every time I go in the shower, I just plug in my Apple Watch, and it's perfectly fine like that. I used to have a Fitbit, which I could keep the battery on for like, I think I had like a week almost of battery life, but that's not the case with the Apple Watch. However, if you make it fit within your daily schedule, so like me, when I go in the shower, I plug in my watch, it's perfectly fine. But yeah, of course, the bigger 36-hour battery is a really cool feature of the Apple Watch Ultra. So hopefully this video was insightful. Let me know in the comments below which one you want to get, or which Apple Watch you have if you have one. And another really cool thing that Apple released was iOS 16. If you want to go check out my iOS 16 setup, I'll leave a link in the screen up there and in the description below. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good day.